One of the things that I see a lot of times, and our teams see this with our clients, is there's a lot of getting ready to get ready. This is definitely something that once our clients are in our community and ecosystem, they are transforming just simply by really taking a stand for the growth that they're creating and taking actions aligned with that.
Is your current success putting a lot of demands on you? If you're good at what you do, and you are, then everyone wants you. But that's no way to scale. If you're delivering spectacular results, you should be commanding higher fees, working with only the best clients. Welcome to the Hands Off CEO podcast, where world-class agency owners and consultants learn how to fully monetize their expertise and scale profits by doing less. Here's your host, Mandy Ellefson.
Hello, Mandy Ellefson here, host of the Hands Off CEO podcast. Our episode today is titled Preventing and Overcoming Stagnant Growth. This is something that we see all the time. A lot of our clients come to us after they have had stagnant or declining growth for around 2 to 3 years. The interesting thing is that they actually don't even oftentimes recognize or see that their growth has been stagnant until you look at the last 3 years, and then you recognize and you see the pattern that it goes up and down, up and down. And this particularly happens around specific growth stages, especially around putting in place a management layer. Even when you hire that person, growth can go down. And it's like this figuring out, how do we actually best utilize this person for me to focus on growth? How can we get the account management, the project management, all the different pieces in place for me to safely let go? And in absence of having that figured out, what ends up happening is the CEO gets very tied into the day-to-day. And as a result, growth stagnates. So this is something we've talked about in the entrapment cycle. And I outlined this in one of the chapters in our book, which, by the way, my new book is officially out. The hardcover and Kindle are on its way. You can go to Kindle, just search for The Hands Off CEO, and you will find it. But we are early launching this. We've been sending out copies to all of our clients and some of our partners, and we're just barely sharing it now. But we got our first review, and I wanted to just share this. This is from Data Driven. Thank you, Data Driven. Wow, this is so good. For years, largely as an outgrowth of the gospel of Gino Wickman through his book Traction and EOS, I bought into the idea that better operations, a focus on rocks, solid team alignment, and a culture of accountability would provide the growth and success we so badly needed and wanted. I'm sorry to say that those well-meaning systems and processes did nothing to actually grow the company. Finally, after seeing Mandy guest present on a webinar, I found someone who truly gets it and has a clear blueprint, not just for agency growth, but for agency scale, growing revenue/declining costs. Once I got her book, I read it as fast as I could, highlighted the daylights out of it, and I'm extremely excited to begin implementing as quickly as possible. I love how she lays out the perfect framework to solve more expansive problems for clients, focus sales offers on outcomes, not deliverables, and gives you the ways, means, and confidence to raise your prices 2x or more. I can't wait to fully leverage what I've learned from Mandy's book to fill our agency with only exceptional, well-paying, high-profit clients. Thank you, Data Driven, again, for that wonderful book review. You can go check out The Hands Off CEO on Amazon and purchase yourself a copy. So coming back to stagnant growth. So 2.5 years tends to be like that sweet spot where consulting agencies reach out to us and where that has happened. But the thing is that you don't have to actually deal with the stagnant growth plateaus every time you want to scale your company. First of all, it slows down your growth. Growth plateaus also are a lot of times indicative of a lot of hard work and stress too. So at the same time as those growth plateaus happen, oftentimes there are other things going on in the business that are not exactly exciting because it shows up as extra stress, lower profits, and also less time with your family. Growth plateaus definitely have their challenges. They can be prevented. Now, I call it a growth plateau because it's from the perspective of actually having a desire to scale and grow more. If you are staying at the same level and you're happy where you're at, that's not really a plateau. You're happy where you're at. That's great, right? But I'm specifically talking about when you want more and you want to get to the next level and you're not able to. One of the things that I see a lot of times, and our teams see this with our clients, is there's a lot of getting ready to get ready. And this is definitely something that once our clients are in our community and ecosystem, they are transforming just simply by really taking a stand for the growth that they're creating and taking actions aligned with that. And oftentimes we are looking at the system, right? I need to find the right offer. By the way, we teach offers, right? So I'm saying this with the understanding that we teach a lot of really good, solid systems for scaling around getting the irresistible offer in place to triple your fees, around getting your operations team, your delivery team to build profitable systems focused around that irresistible offer to be able to scale profitably. Everything that we do is actually based around systems and processes that are specific to helping you scale growth and scale the right types of sales. But those systems and processes are useless and do not actually work unless you are aligned with that. So whenever there is a growth plateau, there is a system deficiency and also there's a mindset. So we need to look at both of these. And every single time, those two pieces are at play. Whenever you're trying to create a new change, you have to have the right mindset with it and the right system and approach. And if you just focus on the mindset, actually, you could potentially get further in a way because your mindset will, when you are stepping fully into your vision and you're saying, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. This is my vision. It's done. I'm standing in my future right now. Then what happens is that you are open to a whole new set of actions that you were not able to see and have access to before. And I've seen this many times over, and I'll probably give you an example of this in a moment if we don't go too long. But when you shift the mindset, when you get really committed to a new future and you stand in it as if it's already done, what ends up happening is your actions and the aligned behaviors that you have just immediately shift to be in alignment with that new future. When that happens, watch out, world. I'll actually share a story about, we'll call his name Bob, but his name is not Bob, but I want to keep his privacy. He was at a point where growth had stagnated. They have $5 million in the pipeline. His team is working these leads, but they're just not closing. And it looks like it's the economy. Like all of the prospects are saying, well, you know what? We just don't have the cash. It's this, that. It looks like the team not following through. It looks like the manager taking over the direction and not being very coachable. It looks like all of these things that are actually external to the CEO. The reality is actually the CEO. It's actually how the CEO is showing up in this interaction. We took this particular CEO through one of our breakthrough processes, and by the next day, all of a sudden, there was this new list of actions. He was on fire and saying, I'm moving up our team meeting 3 weeks. We're having this tomorrow. And I looked at these list of actions from Bob and they were like spot on, incredible, right? And what we call that is a raise the bar conversation. But what he comes out of this with is his team enrolled, his team excited and inspired that he's showing up in a new way. And he finds out some of the real critical pieces that are actually out of alignment or them generating more growth. And in fact, they found $2 million more opportunities that were right there that they didn't see before. And that came as a result of Bob getting more emotionally connected and involved in this. And that came from a mindset shift. So we're going from where Bob's company has been stagnant for a while to taking this big shift with his team. And now there's a whole new possibility open. And now what that looks like is going after multiple 7-figure contracts that in the past they felt like they needed 5 more people for. In fact, it was 7. They needed 7 more people to be able to go after those big multi-million-dollar contracts. And once he was able to look at it from him actually being fully committed, standing in that future, now there is a whole new set of possibilities for Bob and his team. So I want you to think about this from the perspective from your clients as well. So most of our audience have companies where they are partnering with their clients to generate some big result or outcome. In the B2B space, very often they could be growth experts. They could be providing some other service that increases profitability, a lot of different things, right? But the end outcome is that you're there for your clients to help them be more successful. Now, how does this work out if you're talking to your prospect or maybe a client that wants to stay at a really low level of support from you They want the outcome that you can help them, but you know what? They need to get this in place first and this in place first and this in place first. And sometimes they actually do need to do that in order for you to be successful with them. But sometimes those are actually just smoke screens and they are obstacles that are being put in the way of them actually having what they want. And you know that. You can see that. You can look at this and saying, wow, if they just invest in the right support right now, they're going to be able to get there years faster than them continuing to operate in the way that they have. Because the way that they're operating right now is actually what's creating the problem that you know how to solve very quickly, right? Well, that's one of the things that we see with consulting agencies all the time, where they're saying, well, you know what? I need help scaling, but I'm not ready for this yet. Our company is too small. I need to just get our cash flow up before we can make an investment, right? Before we can make an investment in ourselves, which is crazy, right? Because how are you going to generate more cash flow to be able to generate more cash flow? Why don't you just get the support to be able to increase your cash flow much faster? I'm not necessarily saying that hands-off CEO is like the right investment for you, but really stand in the future. I really encourage you to stand in the future that you really want. Create that 2024 vision of like, what does it look like a year from now? What kind of clients are you working with? Don't go based on what has been possible in the past. Let go of that. Let go of knowing how to do it, okay? If you knew how to do it, you probably would have done it already. Let go of that. Look at something bigger. And this is one of the biggest, most important parts of actually scaling your company is you have to have an inspiring vision that moves you into action, that you can then move other people into action in alignment with that. And when you get the right support with this, you can actually scale much, much faster. But you start with a vision, you get really clear on what you want, and then you go and find the support to get there. Just like with your clients, right? You know how much faster you can help them accomplish a particular result or a particular goal when they actually utilize your support. So I would like to make an invitation to you. If you would like to look at what would be possible in your company in 2024, if you partnered with us at Hands Off CEO, please reach out and go to handsoffceo.com/scale. We can have an appointment with you, with our team. We can look at what resources you have already, what team you have, how to best utilize them, and really give you a very clear picture of what's possible based upon the resources you already have. And that's really what's important, to be best utilizing the resources you have right now. Because if you're bootstrapping your company, you don't have outside investors. You've got to find creative ways to be able to continue staffing up. How do you be able to have the profits and the cash flow to be able to do that? Well, the problem is that most consulting agency business models are actually built in such a way where there's not the profitability and the cash flow to be able to sustainably scale, which is why the CEO is stuck in the day-to-day. You got to fix that. We can show you how to do that. So go to handsoffceo.com/scale if you'd like to have a scalable growth session with a member of our team. And we look forward to talking with you. Thanks for tuning in today. This is your host, Mandy Ellefson, signing off.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Hands Off CEO with Mandy Ellefson. If you want to work less and make more, make sure you subscribe and get a new episode every week, and help spread the word by leaving a review.